My name is Shirley. I am 30 years old and I'm from San Isidro, California. I started feeling symptoms around March of last year. It was 2016. I was working out. I was like at the high of my exercising and whatnot. And there were just some exercises that I couldn't do, like sit-ups. My back was hurting too much. And it took a while for me to figure out that I needed to go to the doctor. It wasn't just I thought it was like sciatica, nerve pain, but it ended up being a little bit more serious than that. So I went to the doctor. After I felt a lump in my breast because it started hurting to the point where it wouldn't let me sleep. So they took some x-rays and then they told me to go get a mammogram. And actually, first it was an ultrasound and then the mammogram. Same visit. The ultrasound tech was pushing for a mammogram. I had never gotten one before because you're supposed to get one when you're around 40 years old. And I was 28 at the time. After the doctor saw the results for the ultrasound and the mammogram, they made an appointment for me to go get a biopsy. They're the ones that made the appointment, not myself. The appointments just kept coming right after that. After the biopsy, it took a little while for the appointment with my primary to happen. I could feel the lump growing, so I knew it wasn't good. And when I had the appointment with my primary, and she told me that it was cancer, I already had a feeling, so I wasn't too shocked. And then right after that, she said, "Okay, you're meeting your oncologist in 2 hours." It's like, whoa, what? Okay. So I just ended up going to my oncologist, and he just kind of ran things through me. It's like about the chemo and where I'm going to get the chemo and how many sessions was it going to be. He actually didn't tell me because I needed to get a scan the week after. That was on a Friday. And I ended up getting a scan that week after and had another appointment with my oncologist the next Friday after the scan. And that's when he told me that it was stage 4. It had spread to my bones and my liver. And I was a bit in shock. I was just kind of taking the time to just think of what he was telling me. And then all of a sudden the light bulb went on in my head. It's like, oh, okay, that's why my back has been hurting so much. Because it's cancer. I was like, yep.
I think I'm used to the no lidocaine.
Yeah, you're used to it now?
Yeah. It's because
it doesn't really make a big difference, right?
No.
You're still pressing through that skin.
Yeah. Well, last time it's
So the first time you had the Solidex, it wasn't painful for you?
No, the first two times it wasn't painful.
So at that point, I knew that it was going to be a lot more chemo sessions than what we had originally discussed. And I know there is no cure for cancer, especially not metastatic cancer, which is stage 4. So I knew I was in for the long haul. And it was just kind of a wait and see how the chemo was working. So really, I had no idea if the chemo was going to work or not. So it was going to take a while. So after he told me how far I had spread, the next step was getting a port on my chest, a portacath. There are other options, like a PICC line that goes on your arm, or it can go on your leg as well, or just straight like through the veins, but it can damage your veins after so many sessions, and I didn't know how many chemo sessions I was going to have. So I ended up getting a surgery for the port. And then on September 1st was my first chemo. Chemo is a drug that kills the fast dividing cells, which are cancer, but there's also healthy cells that it kills, like hair cells. That's why I knew my hair was going to fall out. I had my first chemo, and it can be between a week to 3 weeks before your hair starts falling off. Depends on the person. I started feeling pain on my scalp around a week afterwards. And around 10 days after my first chemo, that's when my hair started falling out. It took about a week for my hair to completely fall out. Well, I would say around 90%. And then I ended up shaving it off. Not completely, but leaving maybe about an inch, a quarter inch. And it was hurting. It was very painful. Not emotionally for me, because I was already prepared for that. But physically. It just felt like little pins and needles on the scalp. And a few days after that, I ended up shaving it off completely with a razor. Felt weird, like a naked mole rat. They did offer free wigs. I ended up getting one that matched closest to what my hair looked like before. I only wore it about twice. It was very itchy and uncomfortable, and it was just better to wear a headscarf. It was more comfortable. After my first chemo, I knew I was in for a lot of bed rest. I, researched symptoms, and others told me their symptoms as well. And that same day, I felt really sleepy because they gave you Benadryl, among other things, obviously. So I slept. I slept during chemo, which was around 6.5 hours. I slept on the way home. Somebody gave me a ride. I didn't drive. And when I got home, I slept. And the next day, I felt okay in the morning. But they do give me a device on my arm, goes on my arm. It's called Neulasta. It automatically injects the immunity booster shots to increase your white blood cells, so it won't completely knock you out or more susceptible to infections. That shot really knocks you out. It's just everything is you get so tired easily. Even watching TV became too much of a chore. It was just so energy consuming to just sit there and watch TV. I slept so much the first, I would say, 4 or 5 days. After those 4 or 5 days, I began to feel more energy. But I did notice that my taste buds were changing. My tongue felt a little sore. And I couldn't really taste my food as well. I remember going to the grocery store with my friend. And we ended up eating some lime popsicles. I remember barely being able to taste the lime. And I told them, you know what? These don't really taste very limey. And they just look at me and just in shock. Like, what? What are you talking about? They're too limey. And I knew my taste was gone. That lasted around 3 days. After that, I started getting my taste back again and being able to enjoy food. I changed my diet without even really thinking about it. I stopped eating meat. It just grossed me out. Coming from someone who loves meat, I just couldn't eat meat. Eggs, I only eat egg whites now. I leave out the yolk. I buy the little carton of egg whites. Milk, I don't drink cow's milk anymore. All I drink is almond milk or coconut milk. It's really good. I do eat a lot of meat substitutes. Just overall, my diet is healthier than it was before. Other symptoms that I felt were actually my skin broke out. Just my face and my scalp. Just like if it was acne or chickenpox, I would say. Yeah. It was very painful to even just shower when the water hit the scalp. Surprisingly, it was only after the first chemo. After the other chemos, my skin didn't break out, which thankfully, because that's not something that you can hide. After around 4 chemo sessions, I ended up getting a second scan, a PET CT scan, and I was just hoping and praying that the chemo was going to work, because I know it doesn't work for everyone. And to my surprise, the results were actually much better than what I or the doctor had anticipated. And I killed a lot of the cancer cells. The tumor was practically gone, and I just felt better overall. I had more energy, and things were looking good. The type of scan that I get is a PET CT scan, which is a PET scan and a CT scan combined into one. It's just a clear image. What they do is inject me with a glucose radioactive tracer, and they have to wait about 45 minutes for it to circulate my body. Then I lay down like on a table, and they put me through like big donut looking machine, around 10 minutes, and then it takes me through the other one. Also looks the same. Or it takes somewhere like 20 minutes for the whole test to be done, and then they send the results to my doctor. After my oncologist got the results for the scan, he got together with my radiologist and my surgeon, and they decided that I did not need radiation or surgery, which I was ecstatic about, because I did not want that. And it's actually very rare for someone not to get surgery and or radiation. I had so many doctor's appointments that I couldn't keep up. They were the ones scheduling my appointments. I would just have to show up to them. You know how usually you have to call to make the appointment? They would just tell me, okay, you have an appointment in 2 days at so-and-so time with, whatever doctor. And I think maybe for the first week I had like 7 doctor's appointments. It was crazy. I don't know how I would have done it without a planner. I ended up getting 6 chemo sessions before the doctor said 6 was good, and I was in complete remission after that. No evidence of active disease, which means that I could still have cancer cells. They're just not detectable in the scans. After ending chemo, most women get tamoxifen, which is certain pills, depending on the type of breast cancer that you have. As did I. I took it for about a month. The side effects were just overwhelming. It was too much pain, way too much pain. I couldn't sleep at night. So I told my doctor, and he told me to stop. I stopped, and then he switched me over to a similar one. It's called Ferritin, and I take that one every day. I didn't know if if the pain was going to continue with the Ferritin pills. So what I ended up getting was a medical marijuana card. It took maybe about a week or 2 weeks to get that, because I knew that was going to help with the pain. Some edibles at night. Luckily though, the only side effect to the Ferritin pill is annoyingly so, hot flashes. After chemo, I'm still continuing infusions every 3 weeks. Herceptin and Perjeta IV bags. Every 3 months, I also get an IV bag for the bones. I don't remember what the name of the drug is. And also a shot to pretty much put me into menopause. Chemically induced menopause. Don't you just love it? The time that I've most felt depressed or hopeless was the day after I found out that it was stage 4. I was just thinking, like, oh my God, I'm going to die, or how long do I have left to live? But I quickly snapped out of it because it wasn't me. I'm an optimistic. I'm usually very positive. So it took me a day to just kind of gather my thoughts. And a lot of people tell you not to search for statistics online. And I did. And it kind of helped me, and it kind of made it worse. It helped me in the sense that there are some people that live 10, 20 years with stage 4 after diagnosis. But then, statistics say otherwise. It's just, there are times where I feel depressed here and there, but I have a lot of things to get distracted with, and it's helped a lot. I play a lot of video games. That helps. It makes me happy. Because of my experience, I have learned that every body is different. Just because something doesn't work for someone doesn't mean it's not going to work for someone else. Although I do have to continue with infusions for the rest of my life, or until they no longer stop working. I do appreciate waking up every day more. Even if it feels like all hope is lost, never give up. And it doesn't matter what you're going through, cancer or not, always stay strong. Keep your chin up, put some lipstick on. Guys too, I don't judge. And smile.